Good evening. Tonight we're going to go over lesson 4.7. We're going to talk about understanding factors. Remember, as we go through the lesson, factors are the number itself or smaller.
There are a bunch of rules for remembering factors. We're going to go through the rules here just before we do any examples so you will be able to refer back to the chart and know what we are talking about. It's called a divisibility chart. Factors are looking for what numbers are divisible that will not make a remainder. Is that what you'd say, Mrs.
Yep,
Amore?
absolutely.
All right. So if your number that you choose is divisible by 2, the way that you can figure out if that's going to be a number without a remainder is that if your number is even. If it is divisible by 3, the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. And we'll talk more about that so you know what we are talking about. If it is divisible by 4, the number formed by the last 2 digits is divisible by 4. If it's divisible by 5, that means 5 can be divided by it and there is no remainder. It means the ones digit, so the last digit is 0 or 5. If it is divisible by 6, the number is divisible by 2 and by 3. If it's divisible by 9, the sum of the digits is divisible by 9. And if it's divisible by 10, the last ones digit will be a 0. All right, so knowing those rules, let's test it with the number 324. That way you might be able to understand these rules a little better. So I'm going to write down the number 324. We're going to see if the number is divisible by 2, meaning can I divide 324 by 2 and get 0 for my remainder? What I have to do on that rule is look to see if the number is even. How can I tell if it's even? I look at my last digit there. 4 is an even number, so therefore I can divide 324 divided by 2. So 2 is one of my factors. Let's take a look at 3 now. It says the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. Sum means to add. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these digits together. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. Can I divide 9 by 3? I can. Therefore, 3 would also be a factor. Let's look at rule 4. The number formed by the last 2 digits is divisible by 4. Well, let's take a look and see. My last 2 digits are 24. Is 24 divisible by 4? It is, because 4 times 6 is 24. Therefore, 4 would also be a factor. Is it divisible by 5? What does the 5 rule say? It says the ones digit is 0 or 5. Here's my ones digit. Is it a 0 or 5? It is not. Therefore, it is not divisible by 5. Let's take a look at the rule for 6. It says the number is divisible by 2 and by 3. So I don't even need to do anything with this number 324 up here. I need to look, did I write down a 2 and a 3 as my factors? I did. So it's divisible by 2 and 3, so therefore it's automatically divisible by 6. My rule for 9, the sum of the digits is divisible by 9. So the sum of the digits, once again, I need to add. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. Is 9 divisible by 9? Can you divide 9 by 9? You can. You would get a 1. Therefore, one of my factors is a 9. And my last rule here is 10. It says the ones digit is a 0. So I'm going to take a look at my ones digit again. My ones digit is a 4. It is not a 0. Therefore, 10 would not be a factor. So if I take a look at my factors for 324, I would come up with 2, 3, 4, 6, and 9.
It's divisible by 2, so I know that my first factor is a 2. The divisibility for 3 would be, if I add the digits together, would be 1 plus 2 equals 3. So 3 is divisible by 3. The next number on the chart is 4. If the last two digits form a number that's divisible by 4, then 4 is also a factor, and it happens to be 12. So 4 again is a factor. Divisibility for 5 is the last digit. Let me erase this. Oh, I'm going to erase this. Is the last digit in our number a 0 or a 5? No, it's not. So it's not divisible by 5. The next number is a 6. I'm going to look down at my list. Do I have both 2 and 3 in my list of factors? Yes, I do. So therefore 6 is also a factor. Moving up to the 9, if I add my digits, 1 plus 2 equals 3. Is 3 divisible by 9? No, it's not. And the last digit is the last number is a 10, and the digit has the digit in the ones place has to be a 0, and it is not, so it's not divisible by 10. But looking at the list now, you need to go back, and each number has to have its own pair or mate, so to say. So of the 2 multiplied the 6 would give me 12, and the 3 multiplied the 4 would give me a 12. The other 2 that you can add in also, 1 is always going to be a factor, and the number itself. And when multiplied together, they equal 12.
All right, let's take a look at another one. Name the factors and its pairs of 35. So if I'm going to go through, I'm going to go through my chart, or also I can already think in my head what times what equals 35. Mrs. Lamore just told me 1 times that number, 35, is always going to be a factor. So let's take a look. Is the last digit even for a 2? It is not, so I'm going to move on. Is the sum of the digits divisible by 3? 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 is not divisible by 3. I can't divide 3 and 8 and get no remainder, so that one will not work. Let's see. 4, if the last two digits, which is 35, is divisible by 4. 35 divided by 4, I would get a remainder, so that one does not work. 5, if the last digit is 0 or 5, it is, so 5 is going to work. I can think in my head, 5 times what is 35? 5 times 7 is 35. There would be its factor pair. 6, if the number is divisible by 2 and 3, it is not. I didn't write down any 2 or 3 there. Number 9, if the sum is divisible by 9, 3 plus 5 is 8. It is not divisible by 9. And number 10, if the last digit is 0, it is not. It is a 5. So actually here I only have 4 factors, 1, 5, 7, and 35. All right, Mrs. Lamore, you've got the next one.
Alrighty. Okay, the next number we have is 45. Using my divisibility chart, first of all I'm going to put the 1 down because I know that that's one of the factors along with the number itself. Using the divisibility chart, is the last digit an even number? No, it's not, so it's not divisible by 2. Using the divisibility chart for the number 3, add the digits together. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 is divisible by 3. Number 4, last two digits. Does 4 go into 45? No, it does not. How about number 5? Is the last digit a 5? Absolutely. So 5 times what would make 45? 5 times 9. Okay. Let's skip down to the number 6. If the number is divisible by 2 or 3, I'd have only a 3 here, so it's not divisible by 6. Moving down to the 9, I already have that listed. And the last number on our divisibility chart is 10. And does it end with a 0? No, it doesn't. Let's make sure that each one of our factors has a pair. So 1 times 45, 3 times, oops, no pair. I missed one. 15 would be the pair. 3 times 15 is 45. And the last two numbers, 5 times 9 is 45. Okay, next example. Here you go.
All right, this is our last one that we're going to do together. If you still don't understand it, you can always write down questions and ask us tomorrow. Name the factor pairs. Mrs. Lamore always said it's 1 and that number, so 1 times 49. 2, is this 49 an even number? It is not. 3, the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. 4 plus 9 is 13. 13 is not divisible by 3. If the last two digits if the last two digits, which is 49, are divisible by 4, it is divisible by 4. It is not. 5, if it ends in 0 or 5, it does not. 6, if the number is divisible by 2 and 3. I haven't written down a 2 or a 3 down below, so 6 would not work either. 9, if the sum of the digits is divisible by 9, it is not. And 10, if the last digit is 0, it is not. Now this one is a tricky one. You always have to think at the end. There are two numbers that we didn't talk about with divisibility because they don't really have any good divisibility rules. Did you figure out what those two numbers that we've never talked about are? They are 7 and they are 8. This is what you have to remember from your multiplication charts. Is something times 7 49 or is something times 8 49? It is. 7 times 7 is 49. I only have to write the 7 once. I have a lot of big spaces in here, so I'm going to delete them. And I'm going to rewrite out my factors. 1 times 49. And I know 7 times 7 is also 49. 8 times something is not 49. So my factors of 49 are 1, 7, and 49. You always have to remember the 7 and the 8. Hopefully you know your multiplication factors, and then this will be much easier. We're going to also write down the divisibility rules so you have them tomorrow in your notebook. Mrs. Lamore is going to go over the first one for us. Take out your notes, write down divisibility rules, and make 2 columns. Notice the 2 columns, the left-hand side is much smaller than the right-hand side because we have a lot to write on the right-hand side and not much on the left.
Okay, our first number, is 2. Okay, the rule for if the number is divisible by 2 is if the last digit, it's hard to write in these little lines, oops, try it again, oh, it's still not working, wonder why, do you know why? Let's see, got it. Okay, first number on the divisibility chart is 2. The rule for 2 is the last digit is, oh, good Lord, is even.
All right.
A little humor for the evening.
3, our rule for 3, remember, is the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. So sum is divisible by 3. Rule 4.
Last 2 digits divisible by 4.
All right, we're going to go on to the next page. You continue on your same page. All right, our 5 rule. 5 rule is if the last digit is a 0 or a 5, it's divisible by 5.
If the number is divisible by 2 and 3, the 6 will also work. If the number is, oops, two and 3, that's a long one.
All right. There were no rules for 7 and 8. I don't want you to forget about them because you always have to think, is it divisible by 7? We're just going to leave a blank there because there is no rules. And is it divisible by 8? Let's just leave a blank there too so you don't forget about those two numbers. 9 rule is the sum of the digits is divisible by 9. Sum is divisible by 9. And our last rule is with our 10.
Okay, the rule states that the last digit is 0.
We understand that this is a harder lesson. Please remember to come to class with any questions that you have, and we will help you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Good night.